Jeremiah chapter 22. Still working on Jeremiah chapter 22. And we were talking last week, let's see, about Jehoiakim. Okay. And, we found out, Jehoiahaz, Josiah, one of Josiah's sons. Okay, he became king when Josiah died, but he only lasted 3 months. Okay, and then Jehoiakim actually was put into power as the king by this Pharaoh Necho, who had invaded, Israel, and was exacting tribute on him. Jehoiakim was put into power, and he actually lasted 11 years, okay, in power. And we talked about him, verse 13 last week. Woe unto him that buildeth his house by unrighteousness and his chambers by wrong. He decided he wanted a really grand house, and he thought, when you're rich, you build a really grand big house. But Jehoiakim, built his house, his chambers by wrong, and he turned his people, the children of Israel, he turned them into slave labor, pretty much, to build his house. He wanted a good, big, grand house that useth his neighbor's service without wages, and giveth him not for his work. Okay? And we did verse 14 last week also. Thus that saith, I will build me a wide house with large chambers, and cutteth him out windows, and it is sealed with cedar. Okay? Had cedar boards, built with cedar. The interior design was built with cedar, and ceiling, and painted with vermilion. Really, really, really red. And now we come down to verse 15 for this week. Shalt thou reign because thou closest thyself in cedar? Is that your only idea for reigning as king? You close yourself with cedar and build your house with cedar. Okay. Well, now for the, and you have to go kind of back into Kings and Chronicles to look up these guys, Jehoiakim, Josiah, Jehoiakim, and the other guys, those kings, okay, and find out, Jehoiakim, of course, Josiah, his dad, did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, okay. His kids, whatever happened with his kids, his 3 sons, if you will, they all 3 did evil in the sight of the Lord. Okay? And now Jeremiah is asking, shalt thou, are you going to reign because you close yourself in cedar, because thou closest thyself in cedar? Did not thy father eat and drink? Okay? Just like you, and do judgment and justice. Okay? He did judgment and justice, Josiah, the king, correctly. Okay? He judged rightly, and he gave justice correctly. Okay? And today, pretty much, as far as judgment and justice goes, the only person we have to look forward to for correct justice and judgment is God himself. Right. That's, anybody else running around today, the crooks are getting away with a ton of stuff. And And even though they're getting away with it, the crooks today, whatever they're doing, they are really, really stupid. When everybody in the world, pretty much everybody, except me, I don't, well, mine does take pictures. Everybody has a smartphone, that they can take movies with and then, put them on YouTube to go viral. And they're all these stupid stuff that the crooks are doing today, all the time. But, judgment and justice isn't being done today, just like it wasn't being done with Jehoiakim. Okay? But it was done by Josiah. And then it was well with him. It was, Josiah got a proper kingly burial when he was killed in battle. Okay? They took him back, they put him in a royal tomb, probably befitting a pharaoh or something like that. But Josiah, got a royal burial. Now, Jehoiachin, before Jehoiakim, he didn't get a royal burial. He lasted 3 months, and he got kind of dumped out in the dump out there. And guess what's going to happen with Jehoiakim at the end of his 11 years? Shout thou around. And verse 16 is about Josiah. He judged the cause of the poor and needy, then it was well with him. What was not this to know me, saith the Lord? Okay. That's how, when we, if you will, judge the cause of the poor and needy, when the poor and needy are rightly and correctly judged and justice is done, okay, doesn't that reflects on the Lord, because that reflects on how we treat God, and we need to treat God correctly also, and God will treat us correctly also. God will judge us, and if we do not follow Him and trust Him, the judgment is severe. And that's why Israel is going to be going through 70 years of captivity, because they are not trusting the Lord. They're trusting, Baal and all those other, false gods. And they're trusting the priests in God's temple who are supposed to be following God, but who aren't. They're worshiping the idols also. So, was not this to know me? But thine eyes, verse 17, and thine heart are not but for the covetousness. Okay? I want a bigger house, Jehoiakim is saying. I covet. That's how I can show my power. That's how my power is shown to the world. I've got a big house. Okay? How do you think? Okay, got to remember which pharaoh built the biggest pyramid. I can't remember. We got the 3 pyramids there in Egypt, and all of the big temples and stuff there in Egypt that the archaeologists are going nuts over, digging up. Oh, what wonderful guys, and King Tut and his tomb. But that was all built for their covetousness. Any big, glamorous building that anybody builds, it's for their covetousness. Okay? And for to shed innocent blood. Well, Jehoiakim was putting his people to slavery, He was killing innocent people for no reason, and for oppression and for violence to do it. For violence. Do you think any of this in verse 17, is that happening today? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Sure enough. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, concerning Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, okay? They shall not lament for him. So, the children of Israel, they've got him for 11 years. And do you think anybody is going to be sorry that he is dead? Okay. No, they aren't. Now, Jehoiakim did start his reign for the first 3 years of giving this tribute of 100 talents of silver and a talent of gold to Pharaoh Necho down there. So he did that for 3 years, but then he quit, and that kind of sealed his fate. But he still gets to go for another 11 years altogether. They shall not lament for him, saying, "Ah, my brother," or "Ah, sister." Okay? They're not going to mourn his death at all. The children, his citizens, are not going to mourn his death. They shall not, there's going to be no crying for him. They shall not lament for him, saying, "Ah, Lord," or "Ah, his glory." Okay? When Nebuchadnezzar moves in, okay, and in about 598 thereabouts, when he moves in the second time and besieges Jerusalem, okay, and then for 2 years, and then destroys Jerusalem, guess what happens to Jehoiakim's wonderful grand house? It's a pile of rubble, and I'm not sure if the I'm having problems with that word this morning. Archaeologists, okay, I'm not sure if they've ever identified his house at all. They've never found a house with his name on it. If they have, they may not know it was his house. He may have just remodeled or flipped David's house. That's what people do today. Buy a house and you. That's probably what'll happen to my house when I croak. The girls will either flip it or whoever buys it from the girls, they will flip it. But who knows?
Elsie's gonna get it and rent it out to Casey.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway.
Good price.
Yeah. And all my stuff is going to go to Goodwill or sold in a yard sale. Anyway. So hey, they're not mourning him. They won't mourn him. And Jeremiah is spelling this out for him. This is what God says. This is what God says is going to happen to you. Okay? Verse 19. He shall be buried with the burial of an ass.
Wow.
Yeah. A dead animal. Okay? What do you do with your dead animals? You bury them. Let's see. The only animal that our last cat that the pastor gave to us, ages ago, said it was for the girls, but who was the only guy that took care of it? Anyway, she was 18 years old, and she did get buried out there under my big willow tree out there in the pasture. But here, burial, what do you do with a dead donkey? Or, that you're not going to eat the donkey. A sheep dies out in part of your herd. You're not going to, unless you get it real quickly. The roadkill deer out here, that get hit in the roadway. They're not going to be. They're literally going to be taken to the dump, okay? And the burial of an ass, that's it. They get dragged out to the Valley of Hinnom, where Jerusalem's garbage dump was, okay? And they get, well, I guess you could say they get recycled there, into fertilizer. But buried with the burial of an ass. No royal burial for Jehoiakim. Drawn and cast forth beyond the gates of Jerusalem. Yeah, just dragged out, thrown away. Okay. So, actually, I think we will stop there because verse 20 is a paragraph. And actually, remember, in this chapter, Jeremiah is describing the reigns, if you will, of three of the kings. Okay? Jehoiahaz, Jehoiakim, and the third one, we will start him in verse 20 next week. And those three will, do not have happy endings. Number 3, that starts in verse 20, he only lasts about three months, too. So, we'll start verse 20 next week.